Dear friends, welcome to another lecture on conditionals and loops. Here we will study about patterns. Now patterns will help us in getting familiarity with the loops. We have studied while loops before. Now we will put these loops to the great use. Now here are some of the patterns that we need to print as a form of exercise. So for printing the pattern, we first need to know the number of rows, the number of columns, and what do we need to print. So there are generally three things. First is the number of rows. Second is the number of columns in the ith row. And third is what do we need to print. So if we answer all these three questions, then we can print any of the pattern. Now for example, in our first pattern, we need to print this pattern. You can see here that there are 4 stars on first row, 4 stars on second row, 4 stars on third row, and 4 stars on fourth row. So we will answer these three parts and then we will be able to print the pattern. So what are the number of rows? Here we can start with n. N is the number of rows. So what are the number of rows here? That is n, that is 4 here. What are the number of columns on each row? So for example, for the first row there are n columns. So number of columns in ith row is nothing but n. So this is again 4. And what do we need to print? We need to print the star value. So these are all the three questions for the first pattern. Now similarly, as we go forward, you can understand it better. Here n is the generalized number of rows term. For example, if n was 5, we would have the pattern like this. That would have 5 stars on a single row and the number of rows would be 5. So for n equals to 5, this would have been our pattern instead of n equals to 4. If n was 4, then this would be the pattern. Now let us see for our pattern 2. So here what are the number of rows? 1, 2, 3, 4. So for n equals to 4, the number of rows is n. So for first, the number of rows is n. Now what are the number of columns in the ith row? So in the first row, number of column is 1. In the second row, number of column is 2. In the third row, the number of column is 3. In the fourth row, the number of column is 4. So number of columns in the ith row is nothing but I. How do I say this? Because in the first row, that is the number of columns in the first row is 1. The number of columns in second row is 2. The number of columns in third row is 3. Number of columns in fourth row is 4. So what are the number of columns? Generally for the ith row, it's I. And the third part is what do we need to print? We need to print the star value. We will be coding all of these patterns in a short while. Let us see for this pattern. So here again we are given n is 4. So what are the the first question is what is the number of rows? So number of rows is nothing but 1, 2, 3 and 4. It is nothing but n. The second question is what are the number of columns in the ith row? So number of columns is 1, 2, 3, 4 for first, 1, 2, 3, 4 for second, 1, 2, 3, 4 for third, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for fourth. So number of columns is nothing but n only. The third is what do we need to print? So What are we printing here? 1 1 1 1, 2 2 2 2, 3 3 3 3, and 4 4 4 4. So for I equals to 1, we are printing 1. For I equals to 2, we are printing 2. For I equals to 3, we are printing 3. For I equals to 4, we are printing 4. So we are addressing row number as I and column number as j. So what do we need to print? We need to print I, that is the row number. For example, if you are at first row, you will be printing 1. If you are at second row, you will be printing 2. If you are at third row, you will be printing 3. If you are at fourth row, you will be printing nothing but 4. So what are we printing? The value I. Now let us go on to our this pattern. So here also there will be three answers. The first is number of rows. So you can see here that number of rows is nothing but n. The number of columns is also n. And what are we printing here? So here for the first row and first column, it is the value 1. For second column, the value is 2. For third column, the value is 3. For the fourth column, the value is 4. So we know that we are addressing row number as I and column number as j. So for the first row, we are printing the 1 2 3 4. So this is column number 1, column number 2, column number 3, column number 4. So what are we printing? We are printing the column number, that is j. So in this way this pattern will get printed. Now let us see our next pattern. Now we are on to our pattern 5. So here also we will be addressing the three questions. The first is, what is the number of rows? What is the number of rows? It is for n equals to 4, then there are 4 rows. So it is nothing but 4, that is n. The second is the number of columns in ith row. In ith row. For the first row, what are the number of columns? 1. For the second row, what are the number of columns? 2. For third row, number of columns is 3. For fourth row, number of columns is 4. So what are we printing? We are printing I columns. So for the ith row, the number of columns is I. The third is, what do we need to print? So in the first row, we are limited to one column. So we are printing just 1. So here again we are printing 1 2. Then we are on the third row, we are printing 1 2 3. So just like our previous case, we are printing 1 2 3 4. So what we are printing is, we are printing column number. So, and why is this pattern like this? Because we are stopping, because we are not going till n, we are stopping till the I columns. So here we again print the column number. So this question, this pattern and this pattern are slightly similar. The only difference is that here we were going till n, here we are going till the value I, that is not n, that is only till the row number. Now we are on to our sixth pattern. So again we will be answering the three questions. First is the number of rows for n equals to 4. So for n equals to 4, the number of rows is nothing but n. So our first answer is n. Now you can see here that the number of columns keeps on increasing, and that is equals to the number of rows. For first row, the number of column is 1. For second row, the number of column is 2. For third row, the number of column is 3. And for fourth row, the number of column is 4. So for the number of columns in the ith row, it is nothing but I. Now third part is an interesting part. Here we are starting with 1. Here we are starting with 2. We are starting with 3. We are starting with 4. So what are we starting with? We are starting with the row number. So here what we will do is we will make a new variable. So we are making a new variable. Let us name it as x. The value of x will start from I, and then we will increment the value of x at each point. So here the value of x is 1. So x equals to 1, we print x, and then we are limited to the number of columns here. So here it was only one column, so we just printed 1 here. Now we start the value of x equals to 2. So we first print 2, then we increment the value of this variable, and then we get 3. So we will start from x equals to I, and then we will print I numbers. So for x equals to 3, we start with 3, and then we print 3 numbers. So first is 3, second is 4, third is 5. Now for x equals to 4, we'll start with 4, we'll print 4 numbers. So 4 numbers are 4, 5, 6, and then 7. So we get the pattern here. Now this will be more clear when we write the code. Now let us see our last pattern. So here you can see that this is not a star pattern or a number pattern, this is a character pattern. So first thing we need to address is the number of rows. So here the number of rows is n. Second is number of columns. Number of columns is nothing but n. And what are we printing here? The third is an interesting part. Now we know that if we add a to 1, we will get b, as we saw in our previous video, that we are adding some number and we were going to the next number. So if we add 1 to the ASCII value of a, we will get the ASCII value of b. So what are we printing here? We are starting with a, and we are printing the column number here. So here if the column number is 0, and we add 1 to it, we can get b. So we are adding a plus j. Now if we start column number with 1, we just need to subtract 1 from here. So now for j equals to 1, we will print a. Now let us run the pseudo code here. So for row equals to 0, that is row equals to 1, we will need to print 4 columns here, as our n is 4. So what will be the first value? It will be a plus the value of j. J starts from 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0. So it prints nothing but a. Then the next part is a plus 2 minus 1, that is a plus 1. So it prints b. Then the third is a plus 3 minus 1, that is a plus 2. So it prints c, and then it prints t. In this way we get the pattern a, b, c, d, and then we continue this for n times to get the patterns a, b, c, d, a, b, c, d, and a, b, c, d. Now let us see all of this in a code. So our first pattern is the star pattern. So let us write the code for the same. So here first we will take n, we will input the value n. Now here we will use the while loop. Let us initialize the variables I and j. Integer I, this starts from 1, this will go till n. So what we will do is we will use the while loop. While this I is less than equals to n. Now this part is the row part. This is the row part. Now we know that we can only print one row at a time. So we will need to go by columns. So for this we will initialize another variable, integer j. This also starts with 1. Now we will use another loop while j is less than equals to n. Now what do we need to do here is that we need to print the value star. So we print star, and after this we just need to increase the value of j. So j becomes j plus 1. Now after we have done this, we need to go on to the next line. So we will go to next line using handle, and after we are done here, we just need to increment the value of I. So I hope that this runs properly. Let us run the code. So it waits for our input. So let us give 4. So you see here that we get the pattern star 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 till 4 times. So let us again run the code for n equals to 5. So for n equals to 5. So you see here that we get the 5 stars and till 5 times. Now let us see our next pattern. Our next pattern is this. Now we see here that the first I goes to I goes till n. So in the same pattern we will modify it. So here I goes till n. The value of j goes till I. The number of columns in the ith row is nothing but I. So j will go till I. So instead of n, we will write here I. And then what are we printing? We are printing star here. So we just need to print star. Now let us run the code. So it is waiting for user input. So let us give 4. So you see here that we got the value of star. We got our pattern. Let us again run the code for n equals to 5. So we got this pattern. So you see how easy it is after you answer the 3 questions, that what are the number of rows, what are the number of columns, and what do you need to print. Now let us see our next pattern. Here it is 1 2 3 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 3 3 4 4 4 4. So our I goes from 1 to n, j goes from 1 to n, and what do we need to print here? We just need to print I here. So we will modify those 3 parts. I goes from 1 to n, j goes from 1 to n, and we need to print I. We are printing the variable I here. So let us run the program for 4. So you see that we get the pattern here. Now let us again run for n equals to 5. So you see here that we got the particular pattern. Now our next pattern is this 1 2 3 4. So we will not go here. We just need to know what do we need to print and what are the number of rows and columns. So our number of rows will go till n, number of columns till n, and what do we need to print? We need to print j. So our number of column goes till n, number of rows goes till n, number of column goes till n, and what do we need to print? We just need to print j. So let us again run the program. So we give input for 4, we got the particular pattern. So you see how simple it becomes after you answer those 3 questions. Now we will go on to our pattern 5. Our number of rows goes till n, column goes till I, we need to print j. Number of rows goes till n, number of column goes till I, we need to print j. So we are printing j here. So let's clear the area. Again we will run the code for 4. So we get our pattern. It is 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Our next pattern is this ABCD. Oh sorry, our next pattern is this pattern 6. So what are we printing? We need to print this x variable. So first our loop will go till n. So first for row it is going till n. For j it will go till I. So j it is going till I. The third is we need to start from this variable x. So let us define a variable int x. This value is nothing but I. So we started from I, and then what do we need to print? We need to print the value this variable x, and now x is incremented by 1. So let us see if this code works fine. So for n equals to 4, we get the pattern 1 2 3 3 4 5 4 5 6 7. This is because we were printing this variable x, and all the time this x variable was getting incremented. Our next pattern is this ABCD. Here our I will go till n, j will go till n, and what do we need to print? A plus j minus 1. So let us go to VS Code. Here our I will go till n. We do not need this variable of x. We what do we need to print? We will see later. We do not need this x now. Now what do we need to print here? We need to print the value a plus j minus 1, and this j value will again go till n. Was till n. Let us clear the area. Let's again run the program. Let us give the value 4. So what is this printing is 65 66 67 68. So this is nothing but the ASCII value. 65 is the ASCII value for A, 66 is the ASCII value for B, 67 is ASCII value for C, and 68 is ASCII value for D. But we need the value in the character form. So what we can do is we can define the character x. This is nothing but the value a plus j minus 1. You can cut this, paste here. So and now what we will print is we will print the value x. Now what happens is this will do the calculation here, convert it into the character, and print the character. Let us again run and see if it runs fine or not. For n equals to 4, so we get the value ABCD 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 and ABCD. So what happened here? It was this was the value 65, so it was printing 65, and then 66 67 68. So what we did was we converted the value into the character, and then we printed that character. Now in the next part we will see some more patterns to help you clarify this while loops and how to make the complex pattern. So that is all in this video. Thank you for watching.